The Book of Boba Fett, that's right. It finally ended. I say finally like I didn't expect it to end. It's just like, no, it's done. 7 episodes. Weird choice to do 7. Like, that is such an odd number, literally, just because it's either 6, it's 8, or it's 10. The fact that it's 7 makes me feel like we added a little bit extra stuff to this because we needed to get the Mandalorian stuff in here for some reason. Whatever. I am going to do this kind of semi-spoilery. I'm going to talk about key moments because it's important, I think, to discuss this show. It's been divisive. It's Star Wars. It's Disney Star Wars. It's Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars. It's divisive. No matter what way you look at it, people have opinions on this show. I certainly have them. I did reviews of the first 3 episodes, and I stopped mainly because I don't know what else to say. I really liked those first 3 episodes. I think they're the best of the show. They're just building up tension, building up a world, showing me like the crime syndicate drama that I wanted from this world, giving us a great taste of colonization where these, foreign entities are coming to the land of like the native tribe, destroying it, taking over, and then like this man of both worlds kind of coming in and trying to find the balance between the two. That's really cool, and I really like that stuff. Like, I think the whole storyline of the Tusken Raiders gets overlooked because it's such a good metaphor for just finding your place in the world. These people have been just seen throughout the galaxy and throughout our viewing audiences as one thing. They're the Tusken Raiders. They have nothing going for them. We do a show like this, it's like, oh, we have a new perspective, and I think that's a really cool thing to have for a show like this, and a character like Boba Fett being integrated into that culture, it's really cool. It actually does something for the character. And, I talk about this every time I talk about Boba Fett. I don't care what kind of cool tattoo you have with like his Mandalorian symbol or whatever you think of the clones or Jango Fett or anything like that. I don't care. You cannot honestly sit here and tell me that in modern canon, Boba Fett before this show was cool. He wasn't. He was a character who fell into a pit. He's supposed to be the most badass bounty hunter. He didn't do anything. He just hid in some garbage and tracked Han Solo. He just went to Jabba's barge. Somebody kicked his jetpack or something. He fell into a pit. Boba Fett sucked before this. He sucked until the Mandalorian brought him back, and now he's got his own show. And it's giving him an actual character arc, and that arc is he's tired and he's old. And that's a great arc because it's not what people want. People want him to be like it's the Last Jedi thing all over again. People see Luke Skywalker come back, they're like, we have to have him flipping and doing some cool shit. I'm like, no, this is a guy who's tired of being other people's puppets. That's the story that Boba Fett's going on here. He's like, I was a bounty hunter. I'm sick of working for people. Look where it got me, dragging myself out of a stupid pit that couldn't digest me properly. It literally wouldn't let me die. I'm literally dragging myself back into relevancy by coming out of the Sarlacc pit. And now I have to make a new name for myself. And I really do like the way he's just getting beat up all the time. He's older. He is more just whatever. None of this matters. I'm going to protect the people on Tatooine. That's a cool story for him because that's actually giving him some motivation. And it also plays into his, earlier stories with the Tusken Raiders because they are showing him to have this empathy. They save his life. They are giving him this second chance. And I think that's a really cool story. And then as it goes on in the season, that gets overshadowed by the stuff with the Mandalorian. Now, I'm okay with this. I think this should happen more in television. Honestly, it's the Clone Wars thing where it's like, hey, we'll do the Yoda episode, then boom, we're over here doing this type of episode. We got like a mini arc with Ahsoka over here. Like, I get that. I think the problem I had with this, and it's something that's just with Star Wars in general or anything like these in general, it's just you just suddenly get to this point where it's all about the fan service and stops being about a narrative. Now, I think where it works for the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian story in the Book of Boba Fett is the narrative themes throughout both of them. Boba's trying to find his place in the world, and we're seeing Din trying to find his place in his own world. He wants to be a Mandalorian. He wants to be part of this creed. They only want to use him for his weapon. They don't actually want him there, so they find any reason they can not to have him come there. And when he stops that, he actually goes to find his place in the world is with Grogu, and it's with Boba Fett. That's a really good narrative arc because it plays into the overall theme we're seeing from the Book of Boba Fett. So going to the Mandalorian stuff, that's fine. What I didn't like about that side of stuff was then the next episode jumps just for some reason over to Ahsoka and Grogu and Luke, and it doesn't feel cool to me. I don't like seeing that stuff, and I will say this forever because I'm under this impression, and it's something I will stand by forever. Don't CGI actors, just hire someone to do it. And they're even saying, like, Mark Hamill didn't do the voice for Luke. That's terrifying. Why would we want to do that? Why can't we just get somebody to do an impression of this? I don't understand why Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill are so sacred where we can't, like, recast them. We have to get CGI representations of them. But we'll get Alden Ehrenreich to do Han Solo. Like, what is the difference between them? I don't understand. I'm not saying get Sebastian Stan to stand in there and pretend he's Luke. I'm just saying we could hire an actor who looks vaguely like Mark Hamill to do this. I'm sure it would look less weird, or just be less weird, just like a stiff guy pretending to run around and like not really moving his mouth properly. I don't like the way that looked. I don't think it added anything to that characterization. I think it'd be better if we didn't even see Luke's face. It would just have, I think, more impact that way. I did not like that part of the story, and I'm kind of upset they went that route, because that interpretation and that whole arc took away from the much needed stuff with the Boba Fett to make it cohesively fit. The biggest problem with this show, and I don't have a lot of problems with it, I genuinely like this. I think the biggest problem with this show was the pacing. The pacing just was too jarring. It went from one scene to the next. It went from one motivation to the next one. It kind of cut away a lot randomly. I don't think this is the editing's fault, because the editing is not how you can fix the pacing. It is sometimes, but this goes down to literally like the structure of the story, where it's like we're in the past, we're in the present, we're over here, we're over there, we're going this way, we're going that way. We're getting all these things to culminate into something that's a big payoff, but you spent too much time culminating. That doesn't work perfectly. And that's the problem. That is something that has been an issue with a lot of Star Wars before. It's been an issue with a lot of shows with this kind of structure. But the pacing was the biggest problem. And there's some comments going around Twitter right now, people like, should Robert Rodriguez continue to work in Star Wars? I think he should do a movie, because obviously I think that's just a better place for him. Make a really like grungy, dirty Star Wars movie. That could work better. This just felt like trying to do too many things at once, and ultimately it doesn't really get anywhere with it. There's a lot of great homages in here, and the homages, there's stuff to like King Kong, there's homage to American Graffiti and like the 50s counterculture stuff. That's really cool. There's some great homages to Harryhausen and Butch Cassidy and Sundance. Like, those homages are really good. I don't think any of those come from Rodriguez, really. Maybe the Monster and Harryhausen stuff is really in his wheelhouse, but I'm just like, his stuff is like the pseudo-violence intensity, and there's a lot of that in here. But the stuff I really gravitated towards, the stuff I really liked, was those, like the big monster in the first episode that just comes out of the sands of Tatooine. I really liked the mods. That is a big part of contention for a lot of people. Are the mods cool? I really like them, because that just goes back to the thing that made George Lucas famous. He did American Graffiti. He really likes that culture. Look at like the diners and the robots you see in like Attack of the Clones and everything. He loves the 50s aesthetic in that world. So a group of like punk kids on scooters driving around their city just thinking they're tough shit, hating the outsider country kids from like Freetown, that is very cool. I really like that stuff, and they're multicolored hover scooters. I adore that. That is a great concept that does have a place in Star Wars, and if we explored that more, if that became the next show, I'd be so happy. Like, I would want to write that. I don't want to play in Star Wars too much, but if somebody said, hey, you get to make Star Wars, I'd be like, cool, I'm using the mods. They're going to just be a fun street gang. We're doing like a Warriors thing. We're just having fun with the street mods. Like, that's what I want to do. I really like those characters. I like the use of the Rancor. I think it's a great introduction, and that's a great thing to use there, because it's a part of the story that just shows like the empathy of Boba Fett, where he is, personally interested in protecting these creatures because that's what he learned from being with the Tuskens. It's a really cool part of his story. I do like the way that culminates. I like the resolution of him and Cad Bane. I think that's a great part of the story too, where they're both old men now, and he's like, I got something to fight for. I'm not weak because of it. I'm stronger because of it. That's a really cool part of the story too. Why is Fennec here? She did absolutely nothing. Like, the Fennec character doesn't have a place in this show. I'm glad Ming-Na Wen's getting work, because she's great and she's fantastic, but you could replace her with anybody and feel the same. Same with Jennifer Beals as Gaspa. Like, what was the point of getting Jennifer Beals as a sexy Twi'lek lady just to do nothing with her? that is a big waste, and I'm so disappointed it went nowhere. I guess it's the show like the calamity of the Pike Syndicate, but why? The other thing is they're trading spice on Tatooine, but they're coming to Tatooine to get this. So is the spice like on Tatooine, and they're like doing it through Tatooine? Because if it's just passing through Tatooine, why does it have to stop on Tatooine to get to its destination? So it must be being like distributed there for some reason. It's just weird choices like that don't really make the story feel complete or like it was thought out properly. It is not Kathleen Kennedy's fault. It is not Dave Filoni's fault. It is not Jon Favreau's fault. It's not Robert Rodriguez's fault. It's just sometimes these things slip by, and when we are serving the bigger picture, it does feel like we could have used a couple more episodes to tie up some loose ends. If we didn't do like the 2 arc episode of The Mandalorian, maybe we did 1, we did this 8 episodes, then we give 3 more towards the end to actually make things feel a little more fleshed out, it would work better. And it would feel like a cohesive piece, as opposed to here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing. They're loosely connected through a theme, but not really. So that's a problem. But overall, I did like the show. Tamura Morrison is a fantastic guy to watch on screen. He has a presence unlike anybody. It is amazing. I said this too. I will always say this. It's amazing that kind of man, and I'm not saying anything about his physique. He's probably in great shape, but that kind of physique and that kind of man and his stature and his attitude can lead a show. That is something we wouldn't see 20 years ago. Not in this kind of role, at least. We would just see that in maybe like a lower budget thing, but seeing that in a Star Wars, like Tamura actually getting the chance to lead something like this, that's really cool. That's impressive. I really did enjoy that. I love the callbacks to other characters we see. Black Chrysanthemum is a great addition. You have that character, use him. It's better than just having, just some random Wookiee show up. I do enjoy seeing that. The introduction of Cad Bane in live action was somehow something people had problems with because his nose wasn't long enough. Like, really? That's it? It's Cad Bane. It sounds and looks like Cad Bane. Why would you have any problems with that? The fact that he dies in this show, great. Like, why else would you continue with him? Like, there's no reason to use him. Ahsoka's here. Cool. She has a great line to Luke, like, you're so much like your father. Luke's nothing like his dad. Anakin sucks. So, weird line, but it's just to remind you, like, hey, she knows your dad because she's got a show coming out where Anakin is going to be in it and Obi-Wan's going to have Anakin too. So, get used to seeing Hayden Christensen on screens again. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's a good show, and I enjoyed myself while watching it. I think there's some great moments that are work for fans. Narratively, it is hit or miss, which I hate saying that term, hit or miss, but that's truly hit or miss. It's either like this is really thought out scene, or it's like they're just breezing by this so we can do the Rancor stuff, or we're just breezing by this so like Black Chrysanthemum and the Gamorreans could do something, or it's like, oh, we're not going to focus too much on the mods or Fennec because we're just going to have this really good scene with Butch and Sundance as like Din and Boba, and that's a good scene and it works well, but there's so many other things that just could have added and elevated this story if they tried a little bit more to pace it better, structure it better. If maybe we did 1 episode that's the flashback to the Tusken stuff as opposed to cutting it out between 4 episodes. Like, there's 1 episode, I think it's episode 4, it's pretty much just when Boba met Fennec, and I'm like, did we need an entire 30 minutes to dedicate to that? I think we could get it in 10. And then focus on the stuff in the present with the Pike, because that is what your people are here to see. They want to see the gangster stuff. Sadly, I do like the colonization stuff where it's like, hey, get off our land. No, we run this land now. We're going to kill the native tribe. I like that stuff a lot. That's what I like. But the gangster stuff is what people are here to see. Maybe do more of that, and you could have a more thought out piece of whatever. It's a good show. It's a solid show. It could have used more time. It could have used, I think, a little bit more, like, going through the ringer a little bit, like, oh, fix this, fix that. But to see Tamura lead something like this after being in Attack of the Clones is fantastic. Having Boba Fett become an actual character is pretty cool. Seeing Din go through a narrative arc about losing his son, that's pretty cool. And I joke about the Rancor and the Gamorreans and Chrysanthemum. Seeing them beat people up is really cool. To me, it's all about the mods, though. Those colorful scooters were awesome. I want to see more of that. That is the one thing I'd like to see more of from this universe. I wish Ming-Na Wen did more, because she really was just on the sidelines throughout this entire show, wasn't she? It sucks, but that happens. I think Amy Sedaris did more than her, which is amazing because she was in maybe 2 episodes. There's a nice scene about like Din building a car. It's just like, my son went off to college. I'm going to go build a muscle car, drive it around the galaxy. When I go pick him up from, his college, I'm going to look like the coolest dad on campus. That's literally a scene in this, and it's awesome. And it was really fun. But doesn't always work. So the Book of Boba Fett season 1, I'm fairly certain we'll get a season 2 on this. I'm going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you guys for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and I will catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.